financial difficulties. So,
all right with that. I think I should.
That's good.
I'll give you some clips. So.
Yep. Awesome. I just lost my animation. Let me go back to the slideshow.
Sorry, buddy.
That's okay. We'll do this again. All right. And so when Cole purchased the company, he changed the model from self-service to very white glove delivery, where he hired an army of finance and credit analysts. And we now pull our members, which is what we call our clients. We're a membership organization. We pull our clients through this very intentional process that gets them from where they are, which generally is an infant in the business credit world, to where they need to be, where they get access to 10 to 100 times the amount of credit or capital for their business at better rates and better terms. So at J Golf, we don't lend money, okay? We are a company that has relationships with over 500 different financial companies that do lend that money, okay? So they're on our platform. They give us information that we require for them to be on our platform. And then we use that information to build our members, our clients. Our CEO is actually calling me right now. If I seem distracted, it's because Cole doesn't usually call me. But anyway, so hopefully it's not an emergency. I'm sure it's not. Let me go back. How do we go back? There we go. So as I said before, most small businesses fail. The reasons are varied, but the primary reason why small businesses fail, it's because of cash flow and capital issues. 82% of the time, it has to do with cash flow problems. 29% flat run out of money. So nearly 9 out of 10 small businesses actually fail. And when that happens, the financial liability that comes crashing down on the shoulders of the owners can be devastating. In the case of Cole's friends, it was devastating enough that, the electrical contractor actually took his own life, right? Now, that's obviously a very extreme example, but at J Galt, we're in the business of preventing these cash flow casualties, right? And we have a very intentional process that helps prevent these things from happening and these tragedies from occurring, so that if businesses still do fail, and candidly, guys, businesses will still fail, even if we get them access to all the money that they're going to need for their business. Sometimes businesses fail for other reasons. They're outcompeted. Maybe they're not managed properly. Thankfully, you guys have access to Coach, who knows what he's doing, and he's, incredibly valuable counsel to you, right? Not all businesses are smart enough to hire a guy like Coach. And so, again, businesses fail for a variety of reasons, but if they're members of J Galt, it doesn't have to mean financial devastation, because we will have protected all of their personal assets, because we have a process that separates and keeps separate personal financial lives from business financial lives. And so we are repairing these pierced corporate veils. Most small businesses, certainly in your businesses too, construction and roofing, the owners typically sign lots of personal guarantees to get access to the credit or the funding that they need, or the equipment, right? Signing personal guarantees happens every day. When you do that, you have just essentially pierced the corporate veil, right? We're told that we should establish the corporation or a business so we get the protection of the corporate veil. There's other reasons too. There's credibility reasons, there's some tax benefits, but for the most part, people are often told they should start a business because they get that protection of the corporate veil. Well, the moment you sign a personal guarantee, you've pierced your own corporate veil. At J Galt, we're in the business of repairing these pierced corporate veils, okay? Now, most people have a pretty good idea of how the personal credit world works, right? Everyone knows within a pretty narrow range what their FICO score is, right? The range is 300 to 850, even 900. It's predicated on 5 different things. And your personal credit score, your FICO score, begins building passively at age 18. essentially everything you do either raises or lowers your FICO score. The more you use, typically the lower your FICO score goes, okay? But it happens automatically, okay? Business credit is entirely different. Business credit is predicated on one thing: payment history. But it's not just payment history to any vendor, it's payment history to vendors that actually report to the business credit bureaus. And the crazy thing about this, guys, is of all the financial companies and issuers of credit out there, and there are thousands of them, only 6% of them actually report to the business credit bureaus, which is almost mind-boggling because, you know, the business is what needs access to credit and capital, right? Why would we be relying on our personal credit for business purposes, right? The system is stacked against you, essentially. And so we at JGalt have figured out how to very effectively bring the rules that apply to the big companies who don't have to sign personal guarantees to get access to the money they need and the funds they need. We've brought those same rules down market so that small business owners can have those same protections and effectively qualify for things based on the strength of their business credit score, okay? We know how to do this. So the business credit score, the scale is 0 to 100. And you need to be at an 80 and above, but not just 80 and above. You need to be at 80 and above at the highest tier of vendor. And there are 4 different tiers, 1 through 4. And we'll talk a little bit about that journey in a moment, just so you know. But understand that our process is a very step-by-step approach that gets you from exactly where you are through the various tiers so that within a matter of, on the short end, it can be 8, 9 months. The longest it could take is maybe 14 or 15 months. The average is about a year. But after going through that process, you'll be at a business credit score of 80 and above, tier 4 lender. That's when you'll have access to 10 to 100 times the amount of credit or capital than you could ever get personally at better rates, better terms. No personal guarantees. Okay, that's how our process works. Now, real quick, most applications for credit get declined, nearly 80% of them. And the primary reason are fraud concerns, right? There's a lot of information that is out there about all companies, right? And it's gathered by different organizations like LexisNexis, Dun & Bradstreet, Experian, Equifax, Check Systems, all these different companies listed on the bottom, okay? They gather information about all of your activities, okay? And then they sell that information to the thousands of different financial institutions that actually make decisions on the company's credit worthiness, okay? So most of the applications that are declined because of fraud concerns, but not because they're worried about actual crimes going on. It's just something doesn't look right, okay? There are inconsistencies out there. Again, there's a lot of information that's gathered. There's 125 different data points that these banks and financial institutions look at when determining your credit worthiness and whether or not they're going to make loans to you or issue you credit, okay? And if there is inconsistent information, like a couple different addresses that seem current, but it can't be because only one address can be current at a time, that causes a red flag and is an automatic decline, right? We know what those red flags are. And so the beginning part of our process is we make sure that the boxes that need to be checked are checked. So we take our members, and this is the step 1 of our process. We give them what we call a fundability makeover, okay? We make them look better, more lendable for the financial companies who will then make decisions about their credit worthiness. So we take them from what they look like up top to down on the bottom, where they look like a better risk. We know what those boxes are. Little things like your number needs to be listed, your business number needs to be listed on the National 411 registry. A lot of people are like, I didn't even know that thing still existed. It does. You got to have a real business email address. You can't have a Yahoo or Outlook or, a Gmail account. You got to have a merchant services account if that's applicable to your business, a real business website with a landing page. There are boxes that need to be checked. And that's the beginning part of our process, right? We do some cleanup. And oftentimes, if the business has been in business for any period of time, there's going to be some contradictory information. I myself have a business myself. I invest in real estate. Building business credit's incredibly helpful for that. When I moved, I got separated. When I moved, I updated my business address with my bank, but I forgot to let the Secretary of State know. And I went to apply for a larger line of credit. I got declined. It turned out because of that address discrepancy, right? We cleaned it up, got issued. But these are things that they do look at, right? So there's a lot of cleanup on the front end, right? And generally, the longer the business has been around, the more cleanup we have to do, okay? But that's really step one in our process, right? But after going through our 7-step process, which I'll cover in a moment, everybody gets approved, okay? Our members, to get on our SaaS platform, these 500 plus different financial companies, they have to give us 2 pieces of information that's critical. The first piece is they have to tell us in writing what their approval criteria is. So that can be pretty impactful because our members never get declined for any credit or capital they apply for. If they don't meet the approval criteria, we don't apply. Once they meet it, we apply and they're approved. The second piece of information that they have to tell us is which business credit bureau or bureaus they report to. And they got to report to the business credit bureaus because we're building business credit. As an aside, I always like this stat because it's shocking, actually. The most popular business credit card in the country right now is the Capital One Spark card. Okay. You guys may even have it for all I know. The Capital One Spark card does not report to the business credit bureaus. I have a member, significant company, $35 million a year in revenue. The owner he has a $250,000 limit on his Capital One Spark card. He turns it over 2.5 times a month, over $600,000 a month that he's spending on his business, and he's paying his bills on time. My tiny little single member LLC right here has a higher business credit score than that $35 million a year business that's been around since 2006. Why? The Capital One Spark card and 96% of all other business credit issuers and cards do not report to the Business Credit Bureau. It's crazy. What's worse is it actually reports to the personal credit bureaus. So the more that my friend spends on his business using his business card, the lower his FICO score is going. And that's how it works. And it's crazy. It doesn't happen.
Hey, Geoff.
Yes.
I hate to interrupt you. A couple things. First and foremost, I'm going to have a hard stop in like 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay.
But I wanted to ask, and I'm not trying to be anticlimactic. It sounds to me like you guys are very similar to like Credit Suite. Is that right?
So Credit Suite was the software that before it was purchased, rejiggered, and then pulled out of the suite. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So we that was when it was a very self-service model. We purchased all the rights, pulled it out of the suite, and then layered in the white glove hand holding. Do you have experience with Credit Suite, Josh?
I just watching YouTube videos. That's
Okay.
pretty much it.
Yeah. So we've purchased all those rights. And yes, it's good. So you've actually looked to try to see how you can build business credit.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Good. Well, and there's other companies. So I will tell you, there is not another company that does what we do. Okay. It is us. And then there's a number of copycats out there that are stealing a lot of our materials and our collateral and even making some of the same guarantees that we provide. but they don't have access to the information, the approval criteria, and they don't know who all reports like we do, so they can't be effective. So,
Right. So like, let me ask another question. So like, for example, like ABC Supply, SRS, Beacon, all of the major suppliers all require you to sign a personal guarantee. I know guys that do $15 million that a year in revenue, that buy millions of dollars in shingles every year, that still have a personal guarantee with the suppliers.
mhm.
So I guess what I'm asking you, I mean, like, I totally get it. I totally understand everything about it. I mean, I understand the premise. I understand what you guys do, which is why I tried looking at this before.
Mhm.
Um, and I never pulled the trigger. I never scheduled a time. I never talked to anybody. I didn't do any of that stuff because it was kind of like my whole thing was just like, not right now. Right. So
Mhm.
what my question is that because to me it seems like a fantasy land, like to be able to go to SRS, ABC Supply, or Beacon and be like, yeah, what's up? We're ready to really put it on business credit now. No more of this personal guarantee. You're gonna extend me $1 million in credit. I mean, is that real?
You can't necessarily expect those companies to extend you the credit, but you'll have access to lots of other financial entities that won't
Okay.
require you to make personal guarantees. We have hundreds of different companies, including a lot of commercial banks. And what our financial relationships have committed to doing is underwriting deals in a different way. They use different criteria, right? This is
Right.
this is not balance sheet lending like most banks. I mean, this is completely different. It's considered alternative, but because of the disruption that we're creating, and we have over 43,000 members, like the rules will change. And more, we're always adding new financial entities to our platform because they want to have access to great companies and be able to lend them money, which is how they make money, right? I have lots of other folks that work for traditional banks that are sending me business because they're like, we can't approve this person. And I don't even understand why. So, can you help make them more fundable? And our process does that.
Yeah. So, and I'll just be totally transparent with Steve and Reed on the call and everything. Because I mean, this is an opportunity for them to learn. Great. We were in a situation where we really needed a line of credit last year, or yeah, well, earlier this year, in fact. And we tried and we tried and we tried and we tried and kept getting denied, kept getting denied, kept getting denied. And by the time, and it was all BS reasons why we were denied. But essentially, we had to pull the trigger on an MCA loan that we're pretty much August, so it'll be paid back in December, and we'll be like free and clear of that.
Mhm.
So, but we had to do that, and we got approved, and it was through the broker on it was a company called, I don't even remember, Moby or something like that, and Moby,
Mhm.
they used another company that actually gave us the money. I mean, and it's an automatic ACH payment every week. It's like $1,645 a month. We've had a really good year, but that's kind of been our albatross around our neck
Of course.
because because I mean, not that we're not able to afford it, because actually we're doing pretty good. I mean, like, this job here is 130 squares. It's like $56,000. It's a millionaire and he's loving it, right? But
You're good.
like, what I'm saying is, once we get that off from around our neck in December, January, like, I want to schedule some time with Coach. I'd like to have Coach, and I'm not trying to hog the call either, Steve. I'm sorry. It's just I'm pushed for time. I'd
No
like to
worries.
schedule some time with us, and then John. John's on a job site, and then Amy's it's my daughter's 18th birthday. So as soon as I'm done at this job site, driving straight to the job site, smelling and everything, straight to the restaurant. So I want to schedule some time to where we can prep for that, what that looks like, what that means for us, because my whole goal is to do exactly what you're talking about, because I feel like a lot of these suppliers, especially in this business, and Steven, I don't know who you buy from, if you buy from ABC or not, but they really love dangling that personal guarantee out there in front of you,
Yeah.
right?
Well, you don't have to be saddled with those. You don't. But it does take time to go through the process so that you will be able to untether yourself from those personal guarantees and have access to these non-recourse revolving lines of credit that'll allow you to buy the stuff you need without having to give personal guarantees. I mean, it's a process. And for capital intensive businesses like yours, it might only take 9 or 10 months. For less capital intensive businesses that we work with that are more on the software side or technology side, it can take over a year, right? But the point is like, just because you want to do it, it doesn't mean it just happens automatically. It is a process. And so the sooner you get started, Josh, the sooner you're going to have what you need. That's the point.
Yeah. Okay, guys, I'm sorry. I've got to drop. Geoff, I appreciate it. Coach has got all my coordinates. I think my email is in the invite. Let's schedule some time when you have availability. Obviously, everything doesn't happen until like December or January, so we've got time.
Okay, well, listen, enjoy your daughter's birthday. Good luck, and thanks for joining the call. And yeah, Coach will follow up with you because he's got some more information you might need or be interested in.
Okay, great. Thanks, guys.
Josh. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I'll continue. Is everyone still there? Deandra, Steve?
Yeah, we're still here.
Okay, good. All right. So a very intentional 7-step process. It looks like this. The very beginning is a lot of what I talked about with that fundability makeover, right? We got to make sure that things look the way that they should so that you're more credit worthy, you look better, you're more attractive for them to be able to approve you for credit and capital, right? And once we've done that, then we make sure you're properly registered with the 3 major business credit bureaus, which are Dun & Bradstreet, Experian Business, and Equifax Business. Those are the 3 major ones. And Experian and Equifax are different than the personal side, right? We need to make sure that everything is accurate and registered properly. And then we begin the fun part where we are actually building business credit. And it begins, like I said, with tier 1 vendors. This is not a lot of money, guys. These are trade accounts that are going to offer you just a little bit of credit. We call them our ringer accounts. They guarantee approval for all of our members, right? Why? We have 43,000 of them, and our members buy stuff from them that they need for their business, and they pay their bills on time or early, because you build your business credit profile and score more rapidly based on how quickly you pay your bills, right? So if you pay your bills a little bit early, that's even better. We can get you to that 80 and above more rapidly. But small amounts of credit I'm talking about, $1,500, $2,000, net 15, net 30 accounts, right? Not that helpful, but that's not the point. The point is it's a necessary part of the process. A couple of months of using these new trade lines and paying your bills on time and then reporting those on-time payments, you then graduate to tier 2 vendors. In the meantime, we will have set up credit monitoring through one of our companies, nav.com. We got a new one right now. That's essentially like Credit Karma, but for business. It allows you to track your business credit score profile progress as we're moving through the process. So just another thing that we have you do. But then you move to tier 2 vendors. We're talking still store cards, slightly more extended amounts of credit, generally still net accounts, but a little bit more credit. Rinse and repeat. You use these new trade accounts, store cards, pay your bills on time or early. Couple months of doing that and then reporting your on-time payments, you graduate to tier 3. Tier 3 Now we're talking Visa, MasterCard, Amex, more extended amounts of credit, some revolving, right? More usable amounts. Pay your bills on time or early. A couple months of them reporting that, you graduate to tier 4, right? Tier 4, that's where the magic happens. Meanwhile, we've given you access to this amazing cash flow mapping tool, which Coach has seen and he's played with a little bit. It's a pretty awesome tool that, gives you really good insight as to what's going on with your business financially, so you can forecast and make some other decisions. But then once you get to tier 4, the business credit score of 80 and above, that's when the magic happens. That's when you get access to 10 to 100 times the amount of credit or capital than you could ever get personally. Better rates, better terms, no personal guarantees. Okay. But it's a process. And I wish we can just skip tier 1 and tier 2 and go right to 3 and 4, but we can't. It's all part of the process, right? That's just how it works. Okay. Here's an example of one of our clients. This happens to be a trucking company. We work with a ton of trucking companies, very capital intensive. I've spoken at a couple of trucking conferences. I'm doing a webinar in September for the American Trucking Associations again. But here's a small trucking company that came to us with an original credit recommendation, business credit recommendation of $1,000. That's really not that useful of an amount of money for a trucking company that, buys tens of thousands of dollars in fuel alone per month, right? But that's what she qualified for when she came to us. 10 months later, look at the number on the bottom right, $750,000, right? 10 months time. It's a process, a couple months into it, we more than doubled to 2,500, then 6,900, 15,600, 65 plus, and then $750,000. That's how it works. Okay. And it works every time. So we ask our members to just imagine down the road a little bit after going through our process, being in a business world where you'll never get turned down for credit, ever. Okay. You never put your personal or your family assets, the roof that your children sleep under, at risk anymore. Okay. No longer having to give these personal guarantees. Okay. But always having the money that you need when you need it to survive a storm, to grow, scale, meet the needs of your organization. Think about what that would do for your business. Just think about it for a moment. And that's exactly what we do with our members. So there's really 3 ways to fund a business, right? You can do what you guys have been doing, for years, which is you're self-funding it, you're bootstrapping, right? You can also bring in outside partners or investors, but I think both Coach and I can probably tell you some stories that'll turn your hair green when that doesn't go well, and the control that you give up. And sometimes people don't always agree. So that can get ugly. Or you can build business credit. Those are the 3 ways to fund your business, right? But again, it's not a process that you say, yep, let's do it, and then you have it the next day. This is the Chinese proverb that we love because it actually is really fitting in this situation. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now, right? I mean, it does take some time. It can take 8-9 months on the short end of the spectrum, but it can take 13-14 months. The average is a year, okay? But once you get through that process, your cash flow and your liquidity problems are solved, right? And you're getting things at better rates than you can ever get personally, because business rates are just better, right? And even if you don't love the banks that we work with, and we work with a lot of them, you can take the offers that you get from the financial companies on our platform, these commercial banks, and you can go to your bank and say, look what I got here. Look at this offer. Can you match it? Okay. Sometimes other banks will match it if they want to keep your business, right? So it gives you leverage. It gives you something else to negotiate with, right? And if they won't match it, you already have great offers from the financial companies on our platform that are willing to underwrite companies using different criteria, okay? So that's basically it. Josh had a lot of great thoughts and questions. Do you guys, Steve, Deandra, do you guys have any questions that
Yeah, sure. First off, great presentation. I'm already sold on the credit. I mean, I knew prior to us going into business, me and DeAndre both had, personal credits really high. We know that it's important. And before we got into this business world, I already kind of done some research in terms of business credit. We got the E&I number. I have those small trade lines, I guess you would say, that you can get with no credit. It's kind of like building a baby, right? I look at it as like, it was the baby. My business was the baby that had no credit, and we have to grow it up, right? So we've got Granger. We started getting little easy accounts, 1,000 here, 500 there, and then I have Lowe's and Home Depot now, and then I have Chase credit cards, which I mean, I'm probably have one of the banks that are not reporting it, right? My major credit card through Chase is probably not recording it, right? So it's like, okay, maybe I'm using the wrong one, right? But in terms of where I'm at on the scale, I'm not really sure, right? I'm not sure. I'm somewhere in the middle, 30, 40, 50 probably. But I'm definitely interested in hearing more about how you guys, because I understand that for our business to scale and go, we're going to need funding, right? We're currently doing a bootstrap method, right? I looked at the partnership. Me and Coach talked about different partnerships, but I give up some authority going with partnerships, right? So I think credit is the way to go. And I just would have somebody kind of guide us through that phase.
Stephen, I'll pull a business credit report for you. It doesn't impact your score at all. It's not like personal, right? What's the exact name that your company, like the legal name, and where is it formed?
So the legal name is SOS Home Solution.
SOS Home Solution?
Yes, Home Solution, plural.
Okay. Is it Home Solutions LLC? Is it a corporation, or is it just SOS Home Solutions?
It's an LLC.
Okay. Is that in the name, LLC?
DeAndre.
Yes, it is.
Okay. And you guys are Houston, Texas?
Yes.
That's where it was organized? And
Katie, technically, I don't know if that matters.
Katie?
Yeah.
Right
outside.
Katy.
Katy.
Got it. Okay. And what year did you guys incorporate?
2020.
Okay. Yeah, I'll look to see what's out there, and I'm happy to send it to you. Because you do have some of these baby trade lines, you said there's probably some things that are reported. So we'll see, which could be great, but frankly, depending on how things have been registered, you might not have been even getting all the credit for the things that you've been buying. And so we actually have the ability to go back with some of the partners that are on the platform if they haven't been giving you proper credit for it because you weren't registered with the different credit bureaus appropriately. We can go back and get you credit for things for up to a year. So that might be helpful too.
We do have a Duns and Bradstreet account.
Yep. You have a Duns number. Got it. So so that they have their Paydex score. You have, they all have, there's IntelliScore. The three major bureaus, they all have different things. You haven't bought anything from Dun and Bradstreet, right?
No.
Good. Don't ever. I'm sure they tried to sell you on a bunch of stuff. Don't do it. It's a ripoff. Doesn't work. The moment you cancel it, your business credit score will fall dramatically. I mean, as a result, they're facing all kinds of lawsuits because it should be illegal what they do. So good that you didn't buy anything, but it's good you have a DUNS number, right? Okay, awesome. So I'm happy to pull that. Would you want to try to schedule a follow-up for sometime next week so that we can actually go over this and talk about your situation in more detail?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Well, let me actually stop sharing this and let me look at my schedule.
Me.